This is part 3 of the homework video guide for section 5.1, and for this homework video guide I will start off with question number 8. And for question number 8, I need to match each equation with the graph it most clearly resembles here. Okay, so for A, I have a positive slope and I have a negative y-intercept, all right? So for that one, I believe that's going to be graph number 2 because there is a negative y-intercept, so this y-intercept is negative, but I have a positive slope because if I draw a person here on the far left, this person is going up the hill, so that's a positive slope. So this graph is positive slope, and I have a negative y-intercept. So that's going to match 1A. Now for 1B, I have a negative slope and a negative y-intercept, and that's going to match graph number 3. All right, so for graph number 3, I have a negative y-intercept. So this is a negative y-intercept. And if I put my person on the far left-hand side, we always put the person on the far left-hand side, and this person is going down the hill, so this is a negative slope. And that's why that matches graph B. All right, so for graph C, I have a negative y-intercept, and I have a negative slope, and I have a positive y-intercept, and that's going to match graph number 1. So for graph number 1, I have a positive y-intercept, and I also have a negative slope because this person, if I draw the person on the far left-hand side, the person's going down the hill, so that matches graph C. And finally, for 8D here, we do have a positive slope, and we also have a positive y-intercept, so that's going to be graph number 4 here. So for graph number 4, this is a positive y-intercept, and if I put my person on the far left-hand side, this person's going up the hill, so that's a positive slope as well. All right, so that's it for question number 8. It's just matching the equations with their graphs. Okay, so move on to question number 9 here. So for question number 9, I need to write the equation of each line in slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form is y equals to mx plus b. Right, so I'm given the point 0, 2, and I'm given that my slope is 2. Okay, now for this question, there's a few ways you can do this. One thing that you can recognize here is if you're given the point 0, 2, this is actually the y-intercept, and we're also given the slope here. So if I'm just using this equation y equals mx plus b, I know the slope is going to be 2. So y equals to 2x plus, and I know that my y-intercept is also positive 2, so I can put my 2 there. So my final answer is y equals to 2x plus 2. That's the quick way of doing that particular question. Another way that you could do this particular question is that you can label your x-coordinate as 0, and you can label the y-coordinate as 2, and you're given that the slope is also 2. So if you had to do this method is a little bit longer, but if you're not given the y-intercept, this method actually works quite well. What you can do now is you can substitute the values that are given to you. So the slope is going to be 2, but we know that the x value is going to be 0, so I can change this x as being 0, and my y value is 2, so I can put a 2 there, and then I can put my plus b over there. And if I evaluate this, I have 2 times 0, which is going to be 0, and then plus b, and this means that my b value is going to be 2. So with that, you can now go back to your slope-intercept form, and you can substitute this 2 over there. So that's going to be y equals to mx plus b, and my b value is going to be 2. Right? And then my slope is also going to be 2 there, so I can put my 2 right there. So that's a little bit longer way of doing it, but if you're not given the y-intercept right away, then you'd have to take more of an algebraic approach like I did for method number 2 there. All right, let's move on to question 9b, and I'll do this the shorter way because I'm given the y-intercept here. Whenever the x value is 0, then we know the y-intercept has a value of negative 3, and my slope is 1/2. So if I go ahead and write y equals to mx plus b, I know my slope is going to be 1/2, so 1/2 for the m value, and my b value is going to be negative 3, so negative 3. So there it is. There is my equation of the line in slope-intercept form there. So yeah, the questions on number 9 aren't too bad. They're actually quite quick. Okay, so move on to question number 10. I have a few graphing questions to kind of finish up here. So I need to graph the linear equation here. My recommendation here is maybe we can just write this in slope-intercept form first, y equals to mx plus b. All right, so if I want to do that, I should isolate my y term here, which is negative 3y. And then I can bring my x term to the other side. So this 4x would be negative 4x, and then the 12 would just be plus 12. After that, I would divide both sides by negative 3 because I want to isolate for the y variable. If I do that, the negative 3's cancel off, and I'm given y equals 2. And if I have negative 4 divided by negative 3, that's going to be 4/3, so 4 over 3x. And then finally, if I have a positive 12 divided by negative 3, so positive 12 divided by negative 3 is going to be negative 4. All right, so let me just box this here. So this negative 4 right here, this is my y-intercept, negative 4, and that's where you're going to start, right? This is where you start. So when you're graphing, you always want to look for your y-intercept. So if I go to my grid here, that's going to be roughly about here. So that's my starting point right there, which is negative 4. And then my slope is 4 over 3, right? So my rise is 4 and my run is 3. So the way you kind of translate this is that you go up 4. That represents the 4 here, so up 4, and then since I have a positive slope here, I would go up 4 and right 3. All right, so that 4 over 3, that's my slope, so that means you go up 4 and right 3. And you're going up 4 and right 3 from your starting point. So from this dot right here, let's go up 4 units and right 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's up 4. And let's go right 3. 1, 2, 3. So right there. And then from here we go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and right 3. 1, 2, 3. So there it is. There's my linear line there, and we just connect the dots there, and there it is. So this represents a distance of 4, and this is my run of 3. So my slope is 4 over 3. Okay, let's move on to question 10b now. And for 10b, this is nice because we're already in slope-intercept form. So my y-intercept now is positive 4, so this is where we start. So positive 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, so right there. We start right there. And after that, you want to look at your slope. It's negative 2 over 3. And basically what I like to do with slopes is I like to kind of translate the direction there. So I always start with the numerator first. So that means we go up 2. And since there's a minus sign and a 3 on the bottom, that means the minus sign means we go left. So left 3. So up 2 and left 3 from that starting point. All right, so from the starting point, we go up 2 and left 3. So 1, 2, 3 right there. All right, so up 2 and left 3. Now that I've kind of ran out of space here, I can go down 2 now and over 3. So down 2 over 3, down 2 over 3 like that. So if I connect the dots there, there's my graph. Okay. So just remember, if I draw a little triangle here, there's my 2 and my 3. There's my 3 and my 2. There's my 3 and my 2. So up 2 and left 3. Okay. Great, let's move on to letter C now. And for letter C, I'm given the point slope form now, and I need to graph this by changing this into y equals mx plus b. So let's go ahead and distribute this 1/2. If I distribute the 1/2, I get 1/2 x plus. Now think about this. I have 1/2 times by 4. So 1/2 times by 4 is going to be 2, right? So 1/2 x plus 2. And I have y minus 3 on the left-hand side. And then from there, I can go ahead and isolate for my y variable. So the 1/2 x will be there. And if I take this negative 3, and if I combine that with the positive 2, it's going to be positive 2 and then plus the 3, right? And if I simplify this completely, I get 1/2 x plus 5. Okay. So 1/2 x plus 5. So basically I'm starting at plus 5. That's my y-intercept. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's plus 5. We start up there. 5 units straight up. And then I have a slope of 1/2, right? So this 1 means I go up 1. And this 2 means I go right 2. All right, so from that starting point, From that starting point, we go up 1 and right 2. So up 1 and right 2 right there. And since I'm out of space, now I can go down 1 and over 2. So down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. And then from there, I just connect the dots, and there's my graph. And that's it for question number 2, graphing some linear equations, very similar to graphing linear equations from Math 9. Okay, let's move on to the final questions on this homework video guide, question number 11. And for question number 11, we're given this graph, and I need to write the equation in standard form, slope-intercept form, and point-slope form. Okay, so we're given this graph, and we need to write the equation 3 times in the 3 different methods. What I recommend for students for this particular problem is I recommend that you do the point-slope form first. So that's the form of y minus y1 equals to m times x minus x1. Once you have point-slope form, then you can easily go back to slope-intercept form and standard form right away. So that's why I recommend that we start with point-slope form first. Now for point-slope form, we need to find the slope, right? We need the slope, and we also need the coordinates of a point. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the slope first. And I would go ahead and just draw a triangle at 2 good points. So here's a good point in purple, and here's another good point there in purple. And what you want to do is you want to calculate the rise over the run. So this has a rise of 5, so I go up 5 and over 2, right? So my slope is rise over run. And if I put my person on the far left-hand side, this is a positive slope, and my rise is going to be 5. So my slope is rise over run, so my rise is going to be 5, my run is going to be 2. So there's my slope, it's 5 over 2. And I would also look at this point right here, the y-intercept. That has the coordinates of the point. The coordinates here are going to be 0, 2. So write down 0, 2. All right, so once you have the slope and the point, then you can write your equation in point-slope form. Okay, so if I do that, this is going to be y minus 2, right? So this is going to be my x1, and this will be my y1. So this is going to be right there. So y minus y1, that translates to y minus 2, equals to my slope, which is 5 over 2, and then bracket x minus, and what's x1? Well, x1 is just going to be 0, right? So x1 will be 0. So there it is. Y minus 2 equals to 5 over 2, bracket x minus 0. All right, so there's my point-slope form right there. And if I went ahead and just kind of wrote that into my notes here, this would be y minus 2 equals to 5 over 2, bracket x minus 0. Okay, great. So once we have that form, we can now go back and get the other forms by simply distributing this 5 over 2. So if I distribute the 5 over 2 onto the x, I get 5 over 2x minus, and 5 over 2 times negative 0 is simply going to be a 0. So it's y minus 2. And then after that, I can just take this negative 2 and I can move that to the other side. So if I do that, I get y equals to 5 over 2x minus 0 and then plus 2. And negative 0 plus 2 is going to be plus 2, right? So y equals to 5 over 2x plus 2. So there you go. There is my slope-intercept form. So let's go ahead and transfer that over here. So y equals to 5 over 2 x and then plus 2. All right, so there's my slope-intercept form there. And then finally, I need to go now and find my standard form here. And remember, standard form is in the form of ax plus by equals to c. Okay, so what I would recommend first is there's a downstairs 2, so we can multiply everything by that downstairs 2. So I can multiply this by 2, I can multiply that by 2, and I can also multiply that by a 2. All right, so 2 times y is going to be 2y equals 2, and then this 2 and that 2 will cancel off, and you're now left with a 5 and an x, so that's going to be 5x plus, and then 2 times 2 is going to be 4. All right, and then after that, I would recommend just interchanging the 2y and the positive 4. So if I just interchange those two terms there, I would get negative 4 equals to 5x, and then this positive 2y becomes negative 2y. And then that's it. This is an acceptable answer. Feel free to write it as 5x minus 2y equals to -4. This is also another answer that's also acceptable there, and that will line up with the standard form there. All right, so that's my final answer there. So I can just write this down as 5x minus 2y equals to -4. All right, so I guess question number 11a does take a little bit of work. So I would once again start off with point-slope form, and then once you have that form, you can easily go back and get slope-intercept form and standard form. All right, let's move on to the last question of this homework video guide, which is question number 11d. All right, so let's go ahead and find our point-slope form first. So what I need to do is write the equation of a line, which is y minus y1 equals to m bracket x minus x1. There's my point-slope form. Let's go ahead and find our slope right away, and let's find a good point. So here's a good point, there's a good point. If I just draw a little triangle here, the rise, we're going to find the rise here. So the rise is going to be about 4, and the run is going to be 3. Now, if I put my person on the line on the far left-hand side, this person is going down the hill, so I have a negative slope, right? So my slope is rise over run, so the rise is 4, the run is 3, but the slope is negative because the person is going down the hill. I would also recommend finding a good point. So maybe we can use this point right here. And this point right here, this green dot, has the coordinates of -1, 3. So -1, 3, so that's my point. So -1, 3. So this is your x1 and that's your y1. All right, so now we can find the equation of our line in point-slope form. So this will be y minus y1. Well, y1 is going to be 3, right? So this 3 will transfer there. So y1 minus 3 equals to my slope, which is -4/3. So -4/3. And then bracket x minus, and then what's my x1 value? Well, my x1 value is going to be -1. So it's going to be +1 there. So make sure you're okay with the +1, right? Because there's a negative sign here, and there's a negative sign there, right? So this negative and that negative gives you a positive sign there. Okay. So our point-slope form is going to be y minus 3 equals to -4/3 bracket x plus 1. So there is my point-slope form there. And once I have that, then I can easily go back and get all the other forms just by using a little bit of algebra here. So this -4/3 here, let's go ahead and distribute that. And if I distribute that, I get -4/3x. And then minus, and -4/3 times +1 is going to be -4. It's going to be -4/3. And then I have my y minus 3. And then from there, I can take my -3 and I can bring that over to the right-hand side. And if I do that, I get y equals to -4/3 x minus 4/3, and then that -3 will become a +3. All right, so now we're going to just simplify this, and this is really 3/1, so I would times the top by 3 and the bottom by 3, and if I do that, I get 9/3. So let me just erase this and write this as positive 9/3. And then go ahead and just complete that calculation there, -4/3 plus 9/3. So -4 plus 9 is going to be +5, so 5/3. Right, so -4 plus 9 is +5. And then I have this -4/3 over here, and then y equals 2. All right, so there it is. There's my slope-intercept form. Y equals to -4/3x plus 5/3. So if I just write that over here, I get y equals to -4/3x plus 5/3. And then finally, I need to write this in standard form here. So I do have a denominator of 3 here, so I can multiply everything by 3 now. So multiply that by 3, multiply this by 3, and I multiply that by 3. Okay, so 3 times y is going to be 3y equals 2, and then this 3 and that 3 will cancel off, and then there's a negative sign of 4 and an x, so that's going to be -4x, and then this and this will cancel off, giving me a +5. Okay, we're almost done here, and the last thing I recommend doing is you take this negative 4x and bring that to the other side. So that's going to be positive 4x plus 3y equals to positive 5. And there it is. There is my standard form there. And with that, that should conclude this homework video guide. So let me kind of write this down as 4x plus 3y equals to 5.